Well, alright, what's up, people? This is my very first tutorial, and it's on the topic of linear workflow. Now, this tutorial is geared towards, I would say, an intermediate level artist working or even just trying to learn and understand Maya. Now, I'm assuming that people viewing this tutorial have some knowledge in how gammas work and final gather works. I was just now attempting to try and record a tutorial describing what gamma is, and I stopped the minute I started to confuse myself, and I realized there are, geniuses out there that can explain it better than I can. And one of them is Zeth Willie. He explains what gamma and linear workflow is. Um, I will have a link to his tutorial in the description. So if you are not comfortable with gammas, then definitely wanna you definitely wanna go check out his tutorial. Now, what I want to focus on is why. Why should you use this workflow? But really, just emphasize on how it is the most important thing you could do to achieve a photoreal image faster and a lot more efficiently. Now, in this first part of the tutorial, I'll be talking about why you should use it. So if you already know why, then you can skip to the next part where I'll be demonstrating how to set it up. But if you are not yet convinced, then you're going to want to watch this part as well. And with that, let's get started. Alright, now I'll be using Nuke for the sake of this demonstration. Now I could have done this really in any compositing app. I'm just more comfortable with Nuke, that's all. Um, so yeah, I have a scene here, a simple scene out of Maya. This is the default render. I'm using I have this one area light that's illuminating the entire scene. It is an area light that is visible, and it has a quadratic drop off, fall off. Final gather is what I'm using to render this, and mental ray is what I'm using to render this, and final gather is turned on. Um, Now, actually, this is the first render I took after setting up the scene, and usually you don't get this lucky with the first attempt. Anyways, here on the right I have it's the same image as far as the intensity of the light and the final gather setting is concerned, except on this one I'm using linear workflow. Um, and as you can see, the difference is just night and day. Not only do we have a higher dynamic range in this one, we also managed to cut down in the render time. Here, it only took 58 seconds, whereas this one took about a minute and 2 seconds. Now, 4 seconds may not seem like too much, but if you're rendering out a huge scene with multiple frames, then every second counts. Um, Now, if you're not using linear workflow and this is the image that Maya gives you, and you are not happy with it, you feel like it's too dark, instinctively you will do one of two things. You would either tweak the light or the final gather settings, and that's exactly what I did. First, I tried increasing the intensity of the light by 20%, and it gave me this result. Now, it hasn't really increased the brightness of the room, except that it introduced this harsh highlights parts that seem like it's even clipping. But you probably don't want that, and um, really, it's doing more harm than good. So what I did was reduce the intensity of the light back to where it was, and instead tweaked the final gather settings, and this is the result that I got. Now, this is significantly brighter than this one, but there is one problem, actually three problems with this image. One, it's that we're still getting blown out highlights, and another problem is that our image now looks warmer. And the reason for that is because we have this high intensity final gather points that are bouncing off of this object, this orange material, and contaminating the entire scene. Now, you might like the orange look, but if you had multiple objects with different colors, then you're gonna get a really funky looking interior, and you probably do not want that. Not only that, we also increased our render time to 1 minute and 9 seconds. If you were to compare this with the linear workflow, this only took 58 seconds to render. That's about 10 seconds, 11 seconds. Of difference. And the third problem is that if we were to batch render this image, render an animation of this scene, we would get a lot more flickering in this one than we would here. Now I did not render out any animation, but based on my experience, I've noticed that when you uh, uh, really when you take final gather settings to the max, you often get flickering. Now, let's, for the sake of this demonstration, pretend that Nuke is Maya, and see what Maya does that we don't want it to do. We have an image. If this was a Nuke, this isn't what Maya would display to us by default. Maya would instead display this by default, and when you're looking at this, it's too dark. So, like I just mentioned right now, you do one of two things: increase the intensity of the light, or mess around with your final gather points, or the combination of the two, which will just result in a bad image, really. So what we're doing in Maya is displaying the right image, but in the wrong way. So what we're doing with linear workflow is telling Maya, instead of displaying this image, instead of displaying this image this way, we're telling it instead display it with an sRGB gamma, and that's really what we're doing in Nuke. Just telling to Maya, from displaying this image, display to us this, and that's pretty much it. Now you're probably wondering, if Maya is giving us a linear image, a contrasty image, why not just bring that into a compositing app and fix it? Well, in theory we could. Now if let's try that here. We have let's apply a gamma of the inverse of this image, which will be 0.455. The way you get the gamma, by the way, is if you divide 1 by the amount of the gamma, in this case, which is, in this case, it is 2.2. And we get a linear version. We have linearized the image now. And this would be the kind of image Maya would render out. Now, you're wondering, okay, bring this into a compositing app and fix the kind of gamma there. Let's try that here. Let's apply a gamma of 2.2, and voila, we have the same image that we started with. The only problem with the footages out of Maya is that you don't get this result because Maya does something really naughty in the background, which is it as it writes it out, it writes it out as having a gamma of 2.2 embedded right into the image, when in fact it does not. So if we now try to fix the gamma here in post, it'll be we can't do it because the math is wrong in this image. So if we tried to apply a gamma of 2.2, this would be the result we get. Yuck. It's not pretty at all. It's really washed out, and we're losing a lot of details in the black. And the reason for that is because, again, the math that Maya is outputting out is wrong. And now if we compare this to the linear workflow image, again, the difference is just night and day. And this is why we use linear workflow. It's so that we speed up our render time, and we get a much more accurate representation of our scene and our lights. Now, that is pretty much it for this part of the tutorial. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting a few things, so if I have not explained things enough, if I'm missing out on things or haven't explained things, just leave me a comment and I'll be happy to answer 'em.